following is an ESPN special presentation.
Imagine a sport where the biggest name spends the prime of his career behind bars, where the most popular figure is 20 years past his prime, where the chance of debilitating, life-threatening injury is constant, where no decision, no deal, no dispute is too bizarre, indeed expected, where the only rule that really matters is the imperative: make as much money as you can. Boxing's raw glory is so often overshadowed by the chaos of this business and the dangers in this sport. Our topic on this edition of Outside the Lines, boxing on the ropes.
Outside the Lines is presented by Dollar Rent-A-Car. Right on the airport, right on the money.
Boxing at its best is compelling with primal moments of drama and triumph. That is in the ring. Outside the squared circle, this sport, this industry, is a jumbled collection of interests, regulations, and dangers. A free market exercise in greed and expediency where so often the last concern is the person whose sweat and blood are the very currency of the sport.
The business of boxing is capitalism at its best and worst. The rich get very rich. The little guys can and often do get eaten alive like minnows in a sea of sharks. You get away with whatever you can get away with. That's about the only hard and fast rule in boxing. Fighters and promoters know it, and if they don't, they should. Over the next 60 minutes, you will meet some of these people. Sergei Artemiev is one. He lost his career and nearly lost his life. Vinny Pazienza, whose own mother can't bear to watch her son fight. And you'll also meet one of boxing's power brokers, WBC President Jose Sulaiman.
We begin with a headline almost too sensational to be real. The arrest and indictment of heavyweight Ray Mercer for allegedly offering a bribe to Jesse Ferguson. $100,000 allegedly offered in the ring at Madison Square Garden in February. Key to the charges brought by the New York District Attorney are tapes of the fight. From the third round on, Mercer and Ferguson can be seen and heard talking to each other. According to the DA's office, the bribe offer was made in an early round, then repeated throughout the fight. The grand jury was shown several different tapes of the fight from various angles using different microphones. Mercer appeared in court in mid-July for a pretrial hearing. Ferguson has not been granted immunity. Both he and Mercer will be fighting again in the near future. There is even talk of a rematch once this case is resolved, and the investigation is continuing. Prosecutors allege that Mercer offered the bribe to save a $2 million purse against Riddick Bowe. Boxing's landscape is full of such lucrative paydays and possibilities, but there are only a few ways to get to that promised land. That is the system, one that can, as Armin Katayan tells us, relegate the stars of the ring to the bottom rung of boxing's decision-making ladder.
Throw a right hand, but you don't clean it up there.
I'm rubbing now the arm that's going to shake the world.
He's my manager and trainer, and I guess he's my closest friend. I guess my closest friend. And what he does for me is he's helping me make it in boxing.
I see that he's going to be a champion. I really do.
Amid the ruin and rubble of downtown Detroit are havens of hope, found here at the Kronk Gym.
Me and Luther been working. I've been developing, and I'm the WBO light heavyweight champion of the world.
Luther Burgess has trained and managed fighters for 50 years, sharing his skill and wisdom with the likes of Leon Barber, the fourth-ranked light heavyweight in the world.
Good boxing, good combination.
Loyalty is very important. Me and this man been loyal to one another for the longest, so I trust him and he trusts me.
Loyalty, trust, honor, lost sacraments in a sport long battered by bribery and scandal, chaos and conflict, double talk and double dealing.
There is no uniformity. This is a sport that's out of control. It is just completely out of control.
Former FBI agent and New York Inspector General Joe Spinelli investigated corruption in boxing for 13 years.
The system too often dictates that a fighter must leave his initial manager, his initial trainer, to get ahead. Why? Because the system the system and boxing itself is a monopoly.
I'm like a lightning rod.
A monopoly controlled by powerful promoters.
Put up $1 million.
Exploiting a system without rules or regulation.
Obviously, this is the biggest fight in history.
I said it to one of the promoters a few years back. I said, you remind me of a guy with a big bowl of spaghetti in front of you with 5 starving people behind you. You're filled to the limit on food, but you keep on stuffing it down your throat because you don't want anybody else to have any. And that's their way of thinking, is that they don't want anybody else to have any. Okay? All I want is a few strands of spaghetti.
Squeeze it tight.
Manager Emmanuel Stewart feels squeezed out of the sport he loves. He lost world champion Tommy Hearns.
That's better.
It's happened to you a lot. You've lost a lot of fighters.
Yeah, but that's just the nature of the business, and I've learned that because there's not that much loyalty and values in boxing.
Luther, what do you think about loyalty? You know, that's a special word. Is there a lot of loyalty in boxing?
No.
For Burgess, the deepest loss was middleweight Dwight Davison, a fearless fighter with a crushing right hand. In 1981, after 10 years at Luther's side, Davison was 28-0, first in line to challenge world champion Marvin Hagler.
You two were like this, Luther. You took him to the top.
Yes.
And then he left you.
He left me. He went with Don Game.
Him having all the diamonds and the glitter and money flashing in my face and picking me up in a limo just went to my head.
Dwight Davison chose to leave Luther Burgess and run over to the arms of Don King. And once he did that, that was essentially the end of his career. He never did fight for the title.
He cried on my shoulder. A mistake that he had made. If he could do it again, too late.
Today, at 38, Davison symbolizes a system gone bad. Bad personal decisions and mismanagement by the King camp have left him deep in debt.
This is the only thing that I have right here, just the little house. It's everything, and I'm like 3 years behind on that. So if I don't get a job real soon, I take a big chance on, losing everything.
Super welterweight champ Terry Norris is one of boxing's biggest winners. He and his tough-talking manager decide together on what promoter to use and when, not the other way around.
He stayed loyal. Terry and I are very, very good friends. He's been with me going on 8 years. He's the highest paid boxer in boxing other than the heavyweights. And if you want to achieve that, you have to do what he's done. You have to stay right there and in place and listen and pay attention and learn as you go.
In the beginning, I was protected real well, and now I'm the best pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
When a longtime Norris promoter couldn't deliver a lucrative pay-per-view fight on time, Sayadovich signed a $5 million deal with King and Showtime.
There was a loyalty issue there, too, with Norris. How did you feel about that?
Let's go on to the next one, will you?
It's my obligation to take care of me. Not to hurt Danny, but to protect Terry. And King was able to produce those shows. That's where we went.
Protection, trust, loyalty, bonds not yet broken in these havens of hope in a downtown gym where young men strive to beat a system in desperate need of repair.
If I'm loyal to the people who's loyal to me, then nothing will go wrong.
What about this man right here?
Oh, this man's come with me. Most definitely. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without his assistance. How is it determined, and who determines whether a boxer is physically able to fight? In some states, it's actually easier to get a license to box than it is to get a license to fish. There's a clear and present danger every time a fighter steps into the ring. Each moment of each fight has the potential for sudden death, literally. It was November of 1982 when Dooku Kim was killed in the ring by Ray Boom Boom Mancini in a WBA lightweight championship fight. It was seen live on network television. And that may be the death in the ring that this generation remembers the most. But since then, there have been plenty of others, and far too many close calls.
He doesn't remember a thing. Not the 5-punch combination that sent him to the canvas in the 10th. Not the stretcher that sent him on the most perilous journey of his young life. In the early morning hours of March 22nd of this year, surgeons removed a blood clot on the brain and placed him in a chemically induced coma for 12 days. Because he is alive, Sergei Artemyev is one of the lucky ones.
It's really a miracle. Miracle.
Since 1945, it's estimated that over 360 deaths have occurred in the ring worldwide. Since the mid-1980s, the American and British medical associations have campaigned for the abolition of the sport.
I think that that is unethical for physicians to deny the sport and not attempt to control it and to make sure that it is as safe as it can be.
Efforts to make boxing less hazardous have been continuing now for many years and will continue. I don't believe any of them will have a great impact, however, because as long as fists hit heads, brain damage will occur.
A blow to the head can result in a concussion, hemorrhaging, even death. But these acute injuries are not the only danger.
The chronic brain injury is the cumulative long-term effects of a boxing career. Similar to the condition that Muhammad Ali has, this possibly is from boxing. What happens is that boxers that have a long exposure to boxing will come down with neurological problems that may be characterized by difficulty walking, slurred speech, problems with memory, and Parkinsonian type tremor.
And long exposure to head trauma is not limited to time spent in actual bouts.
That's where most of the trauma occurs, is during sparring. So I think that's the major issue.
24-year-old IBF super middleweight champ James Toney has been a pro 4.5 years. With his manager's help, we estimated Toney spent 300 hours sparring. Strung together, that's 6 hours a day, 50 days straight, throwing punches and absorbing blows to the head. Just how many boxers develop chronic brain damage is debatable. Statistics range anywhere from 20 to 80%.
I want to be out of it as quick as possible. I mean, people who have kids will probably understand that every time you step into the ring, it's life-threatening.
Like brain damage, both acute and chronic injuries to the eye occur in boxing. 74 boxers in New York State who showed no symptoms of eye problems were given a dilated eye exam. The 2-year study revealed the following. 58% had a potentially vision-threatening injury, 24% had a retinal tear, and 19% a cataract.
We were very surprised at that high number, especially since these were asymptomatic boxers.
Sugar Ray Leonard's eye problems are well chronicled, but another Sugar Ray Seales, a 72 Olympic gold medalist, also suffered retinal tears during his pro career. He continued to box into the early 1980s, passing eye exams for many state commissions, when in fact, Sugar Ray Seales could barely see. He is now legally blind. With no enforceable federal rules in boxing, medical regulation is a state-by-state crazy patchwork-like quilt. Here's just a sample of licensing requirements. In California, a fighter needs a complete physical, dilated eye exam, and neurological exam. In the state of Nevada, dilated eye exams are not required. And in Tennessee, if you have $15, you can get a boxing license. No medical tests needed.
You'll go to states, believe me when I tell you, you'll go to states where you get a pediatrician will come along and he'll examine you. Or a foot doctor will come along and he'll examine you. I mean, where the hell do they come in on testing an athlete?
This guy can say, you look good, you feel good, stick your tongue out, look in my head,
The Florida State Boxing Commission compiles a list of suspended boxers in an effort to regulate fighter safety. A knockout in most states requires a 30, 60, even 90-day suspension for a fighter. But in Tennessee, middleweight Tommy Jeans with a record of 3 wins and 51 losses, was knocked out on April 6th and then fought and was knocked out again just 11 days later. When a boxer wants to fight, he'll do just about anything.
We examined a boxer who had a severe injury in one eye, which disqualified him from boxing. Sometime later, from another state, we were contacted and told that that boxer had passed the eye examination. Well, we found that incredible, and they discovered that the person that they had examined was not the boxer, but someone brought in by the manager to pass the test.
With no enforceable medical code, fighters are vulnerable, and their problems are compounded because boxers have little, if any, medical insurance or pension plan. Sergei Artemiev stepped into the ring on March 21st with a mere $20,000 worth of medical coverage. Some 3.5 months after his life-threatening injury, the Russian immigrant is weak, has memory problems, faces over $80,000 in medical bills, and Sergei Artemiev has a family to support.
Now my dreams slept away.
Slips away.
Yes, means I won't be a fighter. I will not be champion.
Next, this bloody sport's newest danger, the AIDS virus. Just ask this former world champion who is now banned from the game. He is HIV positive. And the spectacle of Vinny Pazienza fighting. His dad is right there. Mom can't bear to watch.
Outside the Lines is presented by Dollar Rent-A-Car. Right on the airport, right on the money. And in part by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when.
No, my baby, they're gonna kill you. Oh, you're so skinny. Mom, I love it. I got on my knees and Mom, I love it. I want to be a world champion. I said, but I don't want you to be like everybody else. I want you to be different. I promise you, Mom, I will be different.
The influence of a mother on her son's boxing career is wide-ranging. Annie Holyfield is but one mother who cannot bear to watch her son fight.
I don't be looking at it. I go in my room and shut the door. I be trying to keep them hearing. And they come in there and tell me it's over.
It's over.
And then the first thing I asked them, is he all right? They say, yeah. I said, who won? They say he did. I said, thank you, Jesus.
The Pazienza House in Cranston, Rhode Island, a home of deep devotion and commitment, where the beliefs are strong, the house, a shrine. By now, the car accident, the broken neck, the devil in a halo training for his comeback is all part of Tasmanian lore.
I thought I'd be on a couch. Like a big fat potato.
Louise Pazienza tried to convince her son to retire back then, but Vinny wasn't interested.
God put him here, got him out of that accident for a purpose, and I leave it in the hands of God, and whatever happens, happens, and I just pray for the best. I just pray for the best.
As a child, Vinny was fearless, reckless. At age 13, he saw a movie and decided he knew exactly what he wanted to be. The real-life Italian stallion.
You don't like the idea, but your wife, what does she think?
She doesn't like it at all. She couldn't stand it at all.
Yeah?
She didn't want no part of it. But I talk her in, you know.
What'd you say to her?
I says, listen, this is maybe a fad. A year, 2 years, you'll quit. You catch a good beat, you quit. We never quit.
And Louise never really got used to it. What mother could bear to watch her child succeed if this is what winning looks like? Yet what mother could bear to deprive her child of his passion, no matter what it looks like?
If it's what he wants and he's happy, I'm happy. 100% I'm with him.
Even if it's dangerous?
Even if it's dangerous.
That makes fight nights interesting.
Do you know what she goes through when you fight?
Yeah. She goes through holy hell. She makes Coffee nervous.
Emotionally, mentally, physically, I am no good. I just fall apart.
She don't watch a fight. You know, she sits in front of her little rosary beads there. She prays away. She gets nervous. She blocks her ears.
My daughter's in a parlor. She asks, how's he doing? And my daughter goes, no, he's doing good. And my daughter be screaming and hollering over there. You think Vinny was listening.
It's like I am going the whole 10 or 12 rounds with him. It's something I'll never get used to. And they say, Louise, you should be used to it. Vinny's been fighting for years now. Every fight, it's worse. It's hard.
Now, the interview you just saw with Louise Pazienza was conducted 8 days before Vinny's most recent fight. She seemed a little nervous. You should see her fight night, which you will when we come back in a minute. 24 hours ago, Vinny Pazienza had to sweat off 5 stubborn pounds at the last minute to make the 158-pound weight limit for his fight with Lloyd Honeyghan.
Weigh-ins are my worst moment in life.
Today, he is 14 pounds heavier and hearing the sweetest sound of all.
Room service. No bows, Grand Cookie. Hey, how you guys doing today?
Vin, let me ask you something. At any point today, do you talk to your mom or do you wait till after the fight?
I don't like to talk to her right before I fight because she gets all mushy, man. I don't like that.
Yeah, what does she say? Don't get hurt.
Don't get hurt. Be careful. I love you. Keep your hands up. I'm like, Mom, don't worry, man. It's a fight. I'm not going into combat with guns.
Meanwhile, 350 miles to the north, Louise Pazienza is engaged in her own fight day ritual. Vinny might be hungry. Louise is definitely not.
A lot of people, when they get nervous, they eat. I haven't eaten since yesterday.
In 2 parallel worlds focused on one event, the waiting is the hardest part.
Oh. Hope this fight don't go the distance. If it does, it's going on till like 10:30.
Boy, it must be a madhouse down at Atlantic City, huh?
He is number 1 in my book, your book, our book, their book.
Wrestling's captain Lou Albano is only one of many who, through the course of the evening, stopped by to wish Vinny luck.
I'm all right, man. Good luck. I know you can do it, man.
Things are starting to pick up in Rhode Island, too.
I gotta put that on now. Let's see if they're gonna. I gotta put that tape on. Oh, Vinny. Vinny must be upset that he's not fighting yet.
Let's beat this guy's ass and have some fun.
Finally, at 11 o'clock, Vinny makes his way into the ring, and Louise makes her way into the kitchen for good.
And we begin round number 1.
Get him out fast, Vinny. Get him out of here fast.
I'm just crazy. This fight better end now.
There you go. Nice work. Right ahead. Let's change things around, champ.
Did he win this round?
Hey, come on.
Can Pazienza finish him? A fighter cannot be saved by the bell.
Oh. Keep him there, Vinny. Keep him there.
What's going on, Rhonda?
The evening wears on, and Louise has a feeling.
Maybe my son will knock him out in the 10th round.
Who knows his son better than his mother? Even from 350 miles, 4 states, and 1 kitchen away.
It's over, Louise. It's over. Ready
You okay? You okay? No cuts. No cuts. No cuts. Don't worry about it.
The winner by TKO, he's the Tasmanian Devil, Vinny Pazienza.
Any mommy says you're gonna win in the 10th round.
The fight now over, there's only one thing left to do.
Collect from Angelo. Okay.
Louise.
Angelo? Hi.
He would have killed him. Didn't stop and would have killed him. He was going after him, man. He had an eye for him.
He looked great.
We'll see you tomorrow. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, take care. Tell Vinny I love him. Okay, bye-bye, honey.
The ordeal is over. Until the next time. Louise is drained. Once, a long time ago, she wanted her son to be a priest. It would have made following his professional career so much easier. But in the afterglow of this torturous evening, she doesn't seem to mind.
Can I let Vinny give this up? I mean, for how I feel. See the glory of that win? That's everything. I'd go through this 1,000,001 times. This is what he wants, and God bless him.
That sense of glory and fulfillment is as old as the sport itself, but boxing now has a new dimension, one of apprehension and fear: AIDS. Boxing is the bloodiest of sports. Blood is spilled in close contact involving not just the fighters, but their cornermen as well, and not just during bouts, but everyday training in the gym. Precautions for the HIV infection vary, as do attitudes.
So you're taking the mouthpiece out, they're getting cut, you're taking care of their lips and stuff like that, their eyes and stuff like that, and all of a sudden some blood gets on. You don't know who it is, and all of a sudden you got a problem over there when they test, you know? I went out and bought boxes of gloves for my fighters, my trainers rather, my trainers, and I insist that they must wear the gloves in the training sessions right now.
I'd rather not wear the gloves because, you know, most of the time you're in the gym and I take a bloody mouthpiece out of my fighters, you know what I mean? I take it out and I rinse it off, you know what I mean? Now, you know, when I take it out, I don't say, you know, I wonder where my fighter's been.
I'm not taking no chances with my fighters.
To me, it's like, you know, it's the big scare. To me, it's the big scare.
For this fighter, the big scare has become reality. He says he isn't afraid of dying of AIDS. His faith in God will cure him.
Last September, Ruben Palacio of Colombia won the WBO Featherweight Championship. On April 15th of this year, he was stripped of that title. He's the first fighter in history to be diagnosed with the AIDS virus while holding a world title.
This is Medellin, known as the heart of Colombia's cocaine region. Here, guns and drugs are the recognized currency. For Ruben Hurricane Palacio, this barrio in Medellin has been home for the past 8 years. And it's for his family, for the people of the barrio, that he will wage his war against the AIDS virus.
The virus is my worst enemy right now. I know that this is the fight that I must quickly win.
2 days before his first scheduled title defense in London, the bout was called off. Palacio was told only that he had an oxygen problem with his blood.
At that point, I didn't realize how serious it was. The doctors lied to me, and I went back to Colombia expecting to be cured and ready to fight again in a short period of time.
And it wasn't until he returned to Colombia that Ruben found out he had the AIDS virus. Reporters at the airport told him. Palacio doesn't understand why the doctors failed to tell him the truth.
If the doctors had never discovered the disease, I would probably be fighting without any problems, and then contaminate people without knowing it.
Just how real is the risk of transmitting the HIV virus in the ring?
The main transmission seems to be with exchange of blood. That can occur in boxing and wrestling and some other contact sports very easily.
I think if both boxers have open lacerations, it's a possibility. And of course, one case is too many.
The first HIV testing for fighters began in Great Britain 7.5 years ago. Since then, of the 900 to 1,000 overseas boxers who have taken the HIV test, 3 have come back positive. Here in the U.S., only Nevada and Oregon require an HIV negative test for a boxing license. The test must be negative within 30 days of the bout.
I think that every fighter should have the test done because, you know, that's your life being out there.
I'm in favor of HIV testing, even though you're going to get a lot of opposition, I'm quite sure, from boxers, because once he's found to be HIV positive, it means his livelihood is really gone for the most part, particularly if he's a world champion.
A fighter's safety versus the right to make a living it's a thorny issue. Federal law prohibits HIV testing as a requirement for employment and forbids revealing anything about a person's HIV status. It is this privacy issue that has stopped many states from enacting HIV testing.
What's more important with this issue, the privacy of the individual or the people in the ring?
The people in the ring.
Lou Duva has taken an HIV test 3 times. Just months ago, Nevada told Duva an HIV-positive fighter had contact with Duva's gym.
I cleaned house and we went down and had every one of our guys examined. Now what I do is, when I bring sparring partners in to train with my fighters from around the country, I march them down to the lab and I have them checked out first.
While Duva is a proponent of wearing latex gloves, others feel they will do little to stop the spread of the AIDS virus. That's one reason that last month, the IBF became the first major boxing organization to rule that a promoter must provide evidence that both fighters are HIV-free before a bout is sanctioned. How that may or may not square with state privacy laws is yet to be seen.
Well, if it could happen to that guy in England, it could happen right here in the United States in any fight that you have. We're not talking about someone just getting sick. We're talking about someone possibly expiring.
While no one has yet documented a case of HIV being transmitted in the ring, in this most violent of pas de deux, the possibility may exist. Ruben Palacio says he has no fear as he waits for God to cure him. In boxing, he says, it is the strongest who wins, and his faith is strong.
Sobre todo la fuerza de voluntad.
All the effort I put into winning a fight, I will put into winning this one. I wake up in the morning and sometimes I think I'm the only one on the face of the earth. Why? Because I have so much confidence that I will win this fight. I have a strong desire to stay alive.
Next, the power in this sport. Personal relationships and common interests that are often more important than rules.
This is not a court of law. This is the World Boxing Council.
I think that's his mother and father. Oh. We got a call.
There is an equation in boxing. He who has the heavyweight champion of the world becomes a major player in the sport. Meet Rock Newman. By managing the athlete with the most prestigious title on earth, Newman can say or do practically anything, including turning down the high and the mighty.
I thought it was a tough call to call Steve Wynn to tell him that I had accepted a deal with Caesars. But to call the White House yesterday and have to cancel on the president, I called from my car phone. You know, I feel that I'll always find a way to do whatever it is to get the best thing done, you know, to make things happen that need to happen.
By nature, you're a control freak.
I wouldn't necessarily really say I'm a control freak, but I'm sure enough hands-on.
Rock Newman makes no secret of his self-interest. He has the power to make things happen. The big decisions, the major deals, are shaped not so much through market forces than by alliances, relationships, and common interest. There's one friendship that best illustrates how power is wielded in this sport where there are more rogues than rules.
That was a left hand that... Oh, it was a huge left hand.
Boxing. A bare-knuckles marketplace where power and profit belong to those who grab it.
Nobody in boxing does anything just out of friendship.
This is boxing's most intriguing friendship, an example of how the sport is run. Don King and WBC President Jose Sulaiman.
King and Sulaiman certainly are very tight, no matter how much either one of them deny it. And I don't care if they deny it, because it's true. They are. You can, case after case after case, the WBC giving Don his way.
For example, withholding sanction of the 1989 Chavez-Mayweather fight when Chavez tried to leave King's control. Ranking King's heavyweight Tony Tucker second even after a title loss. a fight where Tucker reportedly did not get the 30% purse split King had promised the WBC. The WBC has global oversight in 134 countries. It has 2 full-time employees. Strict rules lose out to custom and tradition in running the sport.
This is not a court of law. This is the World Boxing Council.
Sulaiman stirred worldwide outrage when he initially withheld recognition of Buster Douglas's win over King's fighter Mike Tyson. He later admitted he had no such authority. Sulaiman was also accused of using forged absentee votes at a critical WBC meeting. His handwritten notes contain the same incorrect use of the word advise and the phrase support absolutely that also appear on a purported telex from Russia, authorizing Sulaiman's aide to cast an absentee vote. That and a fax from an African official were alleged to be forged.
And I guess you've seen this, the telex at the Soviet, for the Soviet proxy at that meeting. You're aware of the allegation, are you not, that was made that that was forged, basically? There's forensic evidence introduced to that effect.
Let me tell you something. Why don't you call Mr. Lipinski? He can tell you if it was forged or not.
Repeated attempts to reach the officials in Russia and Ghana were unsuccessful. Sulaiman later provided statements from the men in question that claimed the original documents were authentic. The WBC lives off its sanction fees, the stiffest in boxing. Sanction fees that in one 3-year period provided income of up to $1.7 million a year. The IRS granted tax-exempt status 11 years ago, and so the WBC pays no federal income tax. They did provide a detailed list of their benevolent works. They have a tax presence in Florida, but are in apparent non-compliance with the nonprofit laws of that state. There is no record of required reports and filings. In this environment, Don King has prospered, even though he's facing another federal investigation over possible insurance fraud involving canceled fights, including Tyson Holyfield.
Have you been subpoenaed or any of your documents been subpoenaed?
Well, I prefer not to have a response to that question.
King declined to speak with Outside the Lines. It is the rare active fighter who will publicly accuse King of what so often is whispered, that he underpays fighters and strong-arms them into restrictive contracts.
Everybody keeps mentioning that. Prove it to me once, and I'll call Don King over to the commission's office. But you know, we have heard that so many times, and then you go talk to the fighters, and they say no.
He offered me $180,000 in New York for Bazooka Limon, and they gave me $95,000. Sulaiman says that Don King lost money in the promotion. I say, I don't care, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Promoters, King and all the rest, rely on option contracts to stay on top. Deals that lock up a fighter's future rights in exchange for a current bout. Options make boxing go round. The WBC officially frowns on multiple options.
We say that if a boxer signs more than one option and close to the fight, he doesn't want to comply with that, and he reports that to WBC, we take action not to accept it.
Can you recall any instances when you have cut fighters loose from contracts that were beyond one option?
I do not recall names now, but there have been many occasions in which boxers say, I don't want to comply with this anymore, and we have brought this into consideration, sure.
That is not how Arguello remembers it.
What could I done? 4 days before the fight, they said the fight is not on. If I don't sign the option, you have to sign it. And I look at the president, the WBC president, and say, hey, Sulaiman, you're supposed to be on my side. You're my president of the organism. Sign the option. What can you do?
Other athletes can quit. They can walk away. Boxers seem to have the toughest time escaping the lure of the ring.
And this is the only man can never make that possible. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But unfortunately, it'll never happen. Thank you, and God bless you all. I have retired for good.
What? Whoa, would you say that one more time, please?
I have officially retired. Well, I'm going to try to retire again, okay? I'm going to give it a shot. I was able to prove to myself that I don't have it anymore. And it took Terry Norris to show me that.
Up next, boxing's opponents, the club fighters who find it just as difficult to retire as the big names.
I had to make a decision knowing full well that my mind, my speech, my eyes and everything about me was to the end of the ropes as far as taking abuse in boxing.
I feel that it's a love that will never die. And I feel that the hardest part is to stay away from it. I think it becomes like a drug. It's like it's in your system.
You always think you can do it one more time, and especially when you sit back, you see a younger guy on television. I can beat him. I can beat him. I know I can. I know I can. And you say, you believe that you can, and you go back.
Retiring wasn't easy for Marvin Hagler or Ray Leonard. And it's no easier at the other end of the boxing food chain. You're about to meet now a couple of club fighters, one who has no desire to quit, and the other who finally and reluctantly has. This is 27-year-old Tim Tomashik. He's single, he works on a loading dock in his hometown of Green Bay, Wisconsin. When he's not doing that, he fights under the name he gave himself, the Wisconsin Doughboy. At the other end of the spectrum, 34-year-old Greg the Gorilla Gorell, married with 6 kids, a college graduate whose career includes a loss to Lennox Lewis, and Gorell says, finally, he's fought his last fight.
The most difficult reason for a boxer to announce or to actually retire is the problem with their ego. By not being in the limelight, by not having that attention, they feel part of their life has been removed from them.
Professional club fighter in the Midwest is basically there isn't too many in the Midwest around anymore. It's just got to be ready at any time to fight anywhere, you know. It's a dying breed, that's for sure.
The most enjoyable thing about my career is the people and the places that I've got to see and the people that I've met. It's fantastic that I've got to do the amount of traveling that I've got to do and meet the Muhammad Ali's and the great fighters of the past.
The reason I fight is basically to get away. It's like a diamond cutter making a perfect cut, you know. Mine is just fighting in the Midwest. It's just you, the cornfield, a good crowd who wants to watch two fighters that are competitive and want to go at it, you know. There isn't nothing better. It sounds barbaric, but, you know, it really isn't when you come down to it. No more pure sport than that.
The thing that boxing does that's good is it gives you another avenue to direct that aggression and that tension that you have in your life. I've had drinking problems. I've had drug problems. You know, just it seems like an abusive personality is part of the sport.
I come from a good family, good, you know, people all around, and I don't need to really box. Actually, that's all this boxing's about. Is just, to me, it's just try to make people happy. I enjoy that.
His last fight here in Wichita, he got hurt, and then is when it really hit me, and I was scared. I wanted him out of it.
About 2 days after that, I started having problems with my eyes. My memory has just really been disturbed.
He's an intelligent guy, and I want to be able to wake up in the morning and have a conversation with somebody without, you know, how some boxers can get. They get punchy.
As far as injuries, I'm not too much worried. I thought I've had basically a lot of stuff. I just, you know, put everything in God's hands, I suppose.
It wasn't too long ago that I was offered a fight with Orland Norris, and they offered me a lot of money. And it was a tough decision, but I think I made a wise decision when I turned him down, because it's far more important to be able to raise the children I've got and to kiss the wife I had.
My parents, you know, they don't want me to fight. You know, my whole family, they always frown on it, but they know it's still in me, and they let me fight. When I'll quit is when it gets hard on me, you know, and I basically just don't enjoy it.
The highlight of my career is I'm still mentally here. I'm still able to go in early in the mornings and watch my children wake up and tell them I love them, and when they tell me they love me, I understand them.
Outside the Lines is presented by Dollar Rent-A-Car. Right on the airport, right on the money.
Sitting in the hopper now in Congress is a bill proposing a National Boxing Commission. The bill is given little chance of getting out of committee this session.
The likelihood of the federal government involving itself in cleaning up boxing is remote, simply because there aren't very many votes from back home for a congressman or a senator who will champion the cause of government intervention into boxing. There are simply too many other pressing issues in life. A half-century ago, columnist Jimmy Cannon called boxing the red light district of sports, and you know what? It still is. Everybody knows where it is. If you want what it has to offer, you know where to get it, and if you don't, you stay away. And that goes for promoters, fighters, and fans alike.
Well, the fact is, though, people cannot stay away. The lure of the sport, the spectacle of two men alone in the ring, that lure is too strong. Stronger than the cynicism that drives our perception of the sport and the wonder we feel for the men who spend their lives in the ring.
I'm Charlie Steiner.
And I'm Bob Lee. Thanks for joining us.
For a transcript, send $5 to Rooney Reporters, P.O. Box 9505, Fountain Valley, California 92728.